It's called The Count of Monte Cristo. It's getting good. This is so good! Why is this so good? Oh. Hey, bookman.
What's wrong? Winter blues?
Winter? Winter? Is this winter? Have you seen winter? Has winter seen you? The snow? I've barely seen a single flake this year.
What am I supposed to do about it?
You pop up seemingly out of nowhere. You always know where I am, and you're a magical deliverer of books.
Damn it, Emma, I can't control the weather.
Okay. I just miss winter.
Okay, hey, shh. I still have something for you.
I know you have my monthly book of the month subscription, and it's always delivered so nicely right to my door. Free shipping too, but I just don't think it's gonna help this time.
Trust me, I have exactly what you need. Okay, it's in here somewhere. No. I know you're grieving the loss of the season, but this is Hereafter by Amy Lynn, a memoir on grief and grieving. I never would have discovered this on my own. Well, that's what Book of the Month is all about. We find what's been newly created and released. We curate an exciting list of books of these upcoming releases, and we deliver them to your doorstep at a more affordable price. I just don't know if I have the strength to read this one myself. Well, that's why we just launched curated audiobooks in our app. So if you don't want the hardcover for this month, you can just listen to it. You said something else about winter? Yes. This is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This is about Freya, Norse-inspired fantasy romance. And remember, you can use the code Emmy to get your first book for $9.99. Alright, well, okay, I'm gonna be going. I'm just gonna take this. Okay.
Welcome to the Big Book Diaries. The Big Book Diaries are back in this episode. You and me. Well, maybe you, but most definitely me. If you are joining us for Game of Tomes, that is. It's going to be you as well. But I'm going to be reading The Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas. I am so excited. I've already started it. It is well into January now, but I absolutely need to start this vlog and tell you so much about it. Don't worry, I'm nowhere near finishing this book at all. This version that I have is 1,243 pages long is this edition. So I got the Penguin cloth-bound edition, even though I already had a different edition. I'll explain why in a second, and I'll go show you it because there's a couple things I want to do with the other edition that I have, which is a gift from one of you guys. Cameron, thank you so much. But oh my god. So if you don't know, me and my best friend Carolyn from the channel Carolyn Mary Reads host Game of Tomes, which is a book club focused mostly on reading classic lit. Last year was a lot of classic lit. This year our theme is big books, is tomes. We're trying to really put the emphasis on the tome in Game of Tomes. So our first read for January and February is The Count of Monte Cristo. I've never read this before. I've seen a little bit of the film and that is it, and it was so good. And guys, I am so hooked. This is so good. I can't tell you how good it is. I'm so excited to read this along with you. I'm pretty sure this vlog is going to be spoiler free because I just want it to be. I don't want there to be any spoilers in this aside from the obvious things that are in the plot synopsis. So all I knew going into this was that we're following Edmund, who is kind of this young, bright, optimistic little lad. He has his whole future ahead of him. He's about to marry the woman of his dreams. He's about to begin the career of his dreams as captain of a ship. He's an extremely gifted sailor and swimmer and just an all-around good guy. Unfortunately, there are some people in his life who are very jealous of both his position and his love, and they set about ruining his life. Edmund gets thrown in prison. The Count of Monte Cristo is set during the final days of Napoleon's reign. So when the book opens, Napoleon has been exiled to the island of Elba, but then of course there is the famous or infamous 100 days return of the emperor until finally the kings are restored and we have the second restoration and Napoleon is really, really, truly out of here. So that is the time period that this book is set in, and it's so interesting. Number one, I was not expecting the Count of Monte Cristo to be so addicting. Oh my god, it's so addicting. Like once you get maybe to the 50-ish, for me I think it was like the 50th page mark, 50 or 60 page mark, I was like, I cannot put this down. Like I don't want to put it down. I'm every day exceeding like the page limit that I set for myself, because what I did, I just divided my reading into the number of pages that I would have to read each day to finish it by the end of February. But I just keep reading. I can't put it down. I can't tell you what it is about it that just like, I just want to keep reading. It's so easy to read. It's so fast paced. I think it's an extremely easy classic to get into. It is, after all, kind of a children's story of this time period, even though it's extremely violent and full of tons of topics that us today, we would probably be like, this is not a kid's book at all. Finally have it. I am back in my hometown. Evie is here with me. I'm going to be reading more of this today. I've taken a few days off from reading, so you and I need to go back in and find out what exactly my page per day count is now. But I can tell you, as of this point in time, I am 266 pages through, and I was like, God, I need to start this vlog, but it's just been so good. There are so many characters. The writing is just so readable. It's like taking a bite out of a good apple and you just want to finish the rest of the apple. The point I am now, Edmund has just emerged from prison, just gotten out of prison. I'm pretty sure that's in the synopsis, and that's just kind of a basic fact of the book. So he gets thrown in prison, but he's out now after a long time, and he is on the path of revenge. He's on the revenge path. He's in his Reputation era. I'm so excited. Count of Monte Cristo is a famous revenge story, so revenge is going to be at the heart of this plot. I'm loving it. I'm gonna go grab my other translation, and we're gonna find out the page count for today and the rest of days, and we're gonna do some reading, and I'm gonna tell you more of my thoughts, and I'm gonna tell you more stuff that's been happening in the most non-spoilery way possible. And I'm gonna go get my copy and do something. Let's go. So this is my other copy that was given to me. Thank you so much again, Cam. You should definitely check out Cam's channel. It is Cam's Corner Books. Like, okay, perfect, I have this book. Cam wrote a beautiful note in it. I was like, I'm just gonna read this, but I started reading it, and I was just feeling that something was like off with the language. It was seeming a bit more old-fashioned than it probably should have, and there was just something that was like off to me. We got the dog. Something was just not right, I could tell, especially because Carolyn was like, what are you talking about? Like, it's so good, the writing is so good. I'm like, I don't know, something's just rubbing me the wrong way. And I was like, what translation do you have? And she said the Robin Buss translation, and this is the Signature Classics edition from Barnes & Noble. We don't have Barnes & Noble here, but when I try to look up who the translator is of the Barnes & Noble Signature Classics edition, there's no translator listed, which means, because I had to look it up, that if there's no translation listed for the Count of Monte Cristo, that it is probably, most likely, the anonymous 1846 translation. The 1846 translation that was put forward by Anonymous, I don't know. I just don't think it's the best translation anymore. Like I said, the language is very old Victorian, and I just thought it would be better to first of all read the same translation that Carolyn was reading and read the most acclaimed English translation of this classic because it's translated from the French. So the Robin Buss translation, let me tell you, I started reading it and everything was great. Everything was perfectly great. It was all making sense. The language was working the way that I think the language should be working, and it was really, really good. Plus this one just comes with notes, and I just feel a bit better reading reading the Robin bus. So unfortunately, when I went to chapters, this was the only Robin bus penguin that they had in, because of course there's just the paperback, which is a lot cheaper and a lot floppier, but this was the only one they had in. So this is the hardback cloth bound. And like, it's beautiful. I love how the cloth bounds look. I always say this, but I just don't feel that I like reading out of them. Although with the Count of Monte Cristo, like, I'm just not having that problem. It's just so good that like I don't care that it's a little difficult to read out. And I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. So I haven't underlined too much. I'm not finding that the writing, like, this is not a lyrical, beautifully written classic by any means. It is very much plot focused, character driven. We're very much telling a story here. Like, this is a story that you want to sit down around the fireside and hear, and you want to beg for more night after night. And that's just kind of been the way that it's going for me. So Dantes is, I can't stress you enough how much in the beginning he's so naive. He's so good-hearted, open-hearted, open-minded, full of life and the love for life. And he just doesn't really see that people are literally stabbing him. Well, not literally stabbing him, but stabbing him in the back. He trusts everyone openly with his whole heart when he really shouldn't, and he just doesn't have very much experience of the world. So unfortunately, on the night of like his betrothal, the day when he's supposed to be getting married to the love of his life, Mercedes, I think he's 19 when the novel opens, he is sent off to prison, to the Chateau d'If, for a crime that he did not commit, or that he thinks he did not commit. He's so confused why he's there. He can't put the pieces together as to like what the heck, what would he have been doing to land him in prison for the crime of being a traitor to the crown, which means of course that he was somehow aiding Napoleon, or said to have been aiding Napoleon's return. The only thing he can think of is that he was given a letter from the late captain of the ship where he was first mate on. The captain died, Edmund was made first mate, and he was given a letter that he was supposed to deliver on the captain's behalf, and this letter has caused him all of this trouble. So as you can imagine, spending time in prison, especially for a crime that he didn't commit, knowing he's innocent and just being so baffled, and then coming out years later to a new world, one where his happiness has been ripped away. He's a completely different person, and more than that, he's trying to set himself up on this path to be a completely different person. He was on the track that he wished to follow, proceeding towards the end that he wished to attain. His heart was turning to stone in his breast. So he is going full revenge. He does meet someone in prison. He meets an abbé, and he learns a lot from this man who is in prison and who has been in prison for a lot longer than he has. And so from this abbé, he learns so many languages. He learns how to appear very, I guess, upper class, very fancy, very elite. He learns so much endless knowledge. Like, the abbé basically has hundreds, I think 100 books memorized in his head. He's figured out how to like create pen and paper in prison, and he's just an absolute genius. I was definitely more invested in the things that were going on outside of the prison, because we do get to hear from a number of other characters. The person who hears out Edmund and who sentences him, I was really invested in his, oh my god, in Villefort. Yeah, I was just so invested in those plot lines, and then every time we would bounce back to Edmund in prison, I was like, please, I just want to know what's kind of going on outside of prison, because like I said, it's kind of during that time that Napoleon comes back for those 100 days, but that's kind of really glossed over, and then we're back to prison. But it doesn't take that long. Really, it doesn't take that long for the plot to get really spinning. It's called the Count of Monte Cristo because there's an island very close to the island where the prison sits that's called Monte Cristo. It's about treasure, it's about secrets, it's about history. Before going into prison, Edmund like just loved his father, loved his fiance, he had a neighbor who he really liked, and then he also had, of course, Mercedes, jealous. They're not related, are they? Maybe he's her cousin, actually. I totally forget. But his name is Fernand, and he was vying as well for Mercedes' hand. We kind of have like the trio of the three dudes who Edmund thought were his friends, and his fiance and his father, and now that he's and as well as the ship owner, the man who owned the ship and like the shipping company, and who was the one who was gonna appoint Edmund captain of the ship. So those were kind of the people in his life, as well as the judge. So those are kind of the people that we have connected to his imprisonment, and now that he's out of prison, He is obviously checking up. What I will say is that he takes his sweet time. I guess he can't just go and immediately check on Mercedes, but like if it was me and I was spending like however many years in prison, and one of the only things I could think of and one of the only good things in my life was like my fiance, I would be like, as soon as I'm getting out of here, I'm going straight to him or her. He doesn't go straight to Mercedes, and I just really thought that he would. Just thought that he would go and see her first or try to find her first before anything else. But that's not the case, and I think that maybe speaks to the kind of man that he's gonna become. What I'm gonna do is actually go and really carefully cut out this beautiful note that Cameron left me. This one, and I'm gonna tape it into this copy because I obviously want to keep it with me. So that is that. That is my update on Monte Cristo for today. We're here to calculate the page count. I'm on page 266. 1243 minus 266 is 977. I have 977 pages of this book left. I'm like kind of sad about that. And then I have all of January and February. So in January there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 38 days to read 977 pages. I have to read 25 pages a day, so pretty much still on track. I think that's even less than I was reading before because I was reading like 26 pages a day, but regardless, I'm gonna read 25 pages of this tonight. Upset with Edmund. Edmund, why are you doing this? So I am 300, I hit the 300 page mark. I'm 340 pages in to the Count of Monte Cristo, and he is doing his best to take on that title, isn't he? His character is really changing, but because he has acquired such a vast amount of wealth, he's just changing as a person in ways that I don't want to see. It's fine, but I do wish he hadn't gone down the super rich lane as hard as he did. Like, he's completely unrecognizable now, both in physical appearance and inward reality. Without spoiling too much, he invites this sailor for dinner. This place on the island of Monte Cristo, but it's just so decked out and it's so lush and it's so expensive. Edmund, you have your freedom now. You have all the money you could ever want, and I just feel like you're wasting it, buddy. I feel like you're wasting this opportunity. I feel like you're wasting what you've been given. Like, sure, he's been traveling a lot and like more years have passed and he's been all over the world and he's done stuff and it's cool, but it's like, I don't know if he's like burnt himself out on wealth, like he's just so ridiculously rich now that there's nothing else for him. But I'm just like, you could be doing so much good. Like, you could be doing so much good. I'm just angry because it's not it's not what I would have done or would be doing in his situation. But the sailor, or the man, I guess, he's a well-to-do man as well, that he invites for dinner, says this about him. It was only the pallor that was strange. The man looked as if he had been shut up for a long time in a tomb, and afterwards had been unable to recover the natural rosy complexion of the living. But he can't shake off this suffering that he's been through. Like, his guest even remarks, like, I bet you're someone who's been through a period of great suffering, and Edmund is like, how could you tell that about me? Everything speaks of it. Your voice, your look, your pallor, even the sort of life that you lead. You look to me like a man who has been persecuted by society and has a terrible account to settle with it. It's getting good. It is getting good. Like, I'm really looking forward to this. You know when you're reading a part and you're reading like the complete version, but if you were reading the abridged version, you totally know that this part would be cut from it. That's what I'm reading right now. I'm totally stuck in one of the tangents that definitely got cut out of the abridged version, 100%. And I'm just like, do we really need to be here? I'm hoping that it's somewhat related to the main plot and the main story, but I don't know. I don't know if Dumas is just off on a tangent about this Italian bandit man. Couldn't tell you, I'm not sure, but that's where I am right now. For those of you who have read it, that's the chapter I'm on, and so I'm not really looking forward to stepping back into it at the moment. I just kind of want to know what Edmund's up to. This is so good! Why is this so good? Holy shit, this is so good. 5-star book. End of the vlog. End of the vlog. Go home. You don't need to be here anymore. There's only one thing that you need, and it is to go and read this book. What the actual hell? Like, what the actual hell? I don't even know what I was talking to you about last time. I think we were in Rome. And it was so fun. And I was like, oh my gosh, Rome. This is my first time reading a book partly set in Rome after going to Rome myself. That was really cool. As of today, it's a little into February. I am 700 pages through. I hit the 700 page mark. I haven't updated you in like 300 pages or something because I have just been sitting down and reading this. I don't understand how it's so good. We're meeting so many new characters. We're re-meeting so many old characters, and the way that the storylines are crossing and coming into play and the stuff that we're learning, it's so masterfully done. I am in so much suspense. I want to know so much what's going to happen. The life of me, this is so hard to put down, and I never want it to end, and I'm so sad that I'm getting closer and closer to finishing it. This will be a reread for like the rest of my life. I love the way that Edmund is characterized in Rome. I think the Rome sections of the book are incredibly cool. I was a little bit confused because we do get introduced to, I think I was saying last time, 2 characters in Rome. We have Franz, and we also have Albert, who is a count and who is the son of someone that we know from before. Because like these names are kind of only mentioned a little bit, the first time that we meet these 2 dudes, I was like, oh my god, is this who I think it is? And then I had to be like, wait, Emma, it's been like a bunch of years and he's been in prison. It's not who you think it is. They're 2 different people entirely. I'm not going to say anything. And I love how we just keep getting this description of Edmund as he is now fully assuming the identity of the Count of Monte Cristo, a cosmopolitan who doesn't belong to any nation, any place, any race, any person, any language. He is removing himself so entirely from society so that he can be above it. There are so many allusions to so many different pieces of literature. Edmund is a man who is now so well read, so rich. Obviously we knew this, of course, but he's just been everywhere. He's done everything. He is the most interesting man in the world. Monte Cristo says, I lead the happiest life of any man I know. I have my own justice, high and low, which suspends no sentences and hears no appeals, which merely condemns or pardons and concerns nobody. The time difference that has happened between the section where we were in the Chateau d'If, where we were in prison, and now coming out, like, there's been so much time, there's so much that has gone on behind the scenes that, like, I wish we had a whole book on. I think Dumas should have written a whole book about how the Count really becomes the Count and like his travels around the world. I would eat that up. We also learn that in Rome he has this young Greek girl who follows him around, and then we come to learn more about her. I'm very interested in their relationship. Just the theme of him as a vampire, right? Because we have a whole bunch of people, or really just one lady in society being like, he's a vampire, I'm freaking terrified of him. Someone must have recently dug him out. He looks like a corpse which has just emerged from the tomb with the gravedigger's permission because he is atrociously pale. If any man could make one believe in vampires, this was he. Lord Byron swore to me that he believed in vampires. He even told me that he had seen them and described how they look, and that was it exactly. I don't know where he comes from, but I can tell you where he is going. To hell, for certain. The writing is so good. Dumas, you are so good. I can't tell you how contagious this book is. It's just like a sickness that I have. I can't put it down. It's outrageously good. The plot zips around, gives the perfect amount of time to different things, I'm feeling like. As the Count of Monte Cristo gets closer to different people, for example, he gets very close to Franz and Albert in Rome, especially Albert, for reasons that we come to learn later. But he's in Rome, he's bopping around, and he's starting to put his plans into motion. At this point, Edmund is about 34-ish, 32, 34, possibly a bit closer to 40. Dumas seems to mess up his dates a little bit. It's not really important though. And he starts to have a lot of deep philosophical debates and conversations with people. This is Grendel. Grendel has appeared in the vlog if you haven't met him, but he just like starts to kind of involve himself in the education of the young people in this book, because of course we have like the generation belonging to Edmund and the people who were in his life when he was thrown into prison. And of course Edmund was very young when that happened, but then we have the people who were involved in putting Edmund in prison, and now they have had children and families, and so we have the children of some of these people, and he starts to get involved with them. And the drama is off the rails. He is the drama. It is the Count. He is causing shit. He is stirring the pot. It is so fun. Straight up tells Franz when he takes them to see an execution in Rome, there's only one serious matter to be considered in life, and that is death. So, isn't it worth one's curiosity to study the different ways that the soul may leave the body, and how, according to the character, the temperament, or even the local customs of a country, individuals face up to that supreme journey from being to nothingness? For me, I can assure you of one thing. The more you have seen others die, the easier it becomes to die oneself. So in my opinion, death may be a torment, but it is not an expiation. In return for a slow, deep, infinite, eternal pain, I should return as nearly as possible a pain equivalent to the one inflicted on me, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The Count of Monte Cristo is coming for you. It is so over for you. Like I said, because of the amount of time that has passed, and because like, while Edmund was still in prison and he was really just kind of hoping and waiting for 14 years, I feel like in that time we saw a little bit of that glimmer of revenge and vengeance and hatefulness and vendetta come into his life and into his eyes. I think I would have wanted to feel it a little bit more, because the Edmund we have now is not the same character, not even close at all. The absolute 180 that he has done is so cool. I was talking to Carolyn and being like, this is just giving me Phantom of the Opera vibes. It's giving me 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea vibes. We just have this like exile figure who has been wronged for something that is totally not their fault, beyond their control, and they have somehow tried to overcome it, but in reality they haven't processed what has happened to them. They have somehow just accumulated an insane amount of wealth and then decided that they want to go on this revenge journey against all of society. So think like the Phantom, think Captain Nemo, Monte Cristo. I don't know, he just goes on so many rants that I'm just like, I love you. I feel this in my bones. He has turned against the human race. He doesn't consider himself part of the human race either. He's just the coolest mix of so many characters. I see so much of Ivan in the Count from the Brothers Karamazov. I see so much of Raskolnikov from Crime and Punishment. There's Dostoevsky would have a field day with this man. Monte Cristo says, the sheep will bleat with joy. He's talking about how at the execution one of the men got pardoned and he was led off of the stage, and then the other guy, who unfortunately still has to die, he's about to be hung, he starts screaming like, this isn't fair, bring him back and kill him. Like, he's not happy that his fellow prisoner got off, he's more upset that he has to die alone. So Monte Cristo's like, if you put 2 sheep into the slaughterhouse, 2 oxen in the abattoir, and let one of them realize that his companion will not die, the sheep will bleat with joy, the ox low with pleasure. But man whom God made in his image, man to whom God gave this soul, the supreme law, that he should love his neighbor, man to whom God gave a voice to express his thoughts, what is man's first cry when he learns that his neighbor is saved? A curse. All honor to man, the masterpiece of nature, the Lord of creation. He burst out laughing, but such a terrible laugh that one realized he must have suffered horribly to be able to laugh in such a way. All this is just like leading up with such terrible suspense, because I'm like, what the hell are you gonna do to the group of people who wronged you, to the group of people who put you in jail? I'm quaking in my boots for them. Like, I am scared for them. They are about to suffer like they have never suffered. They thought they knew what suffering was. No, 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 no. The book splits again and we leave Rome. Some months pass after the Count hangs out with Franz and Albert and gets to know them. And then Albert returns to Paris where he lives. He is a Viscount, so he's very high up in society, and he starts to blather and be like, oh my god, I met this man in Italy and he was so cool. And everyone's like, yeah, okay, I'm sure. Like, this guy rescued you from bandits. You have like an Italian boyfriend. Does he even exist? The Count arrives in Paris. He's back in his home country, France, though of course he tells everyone that he meets that he has no home country, that he has no past. He arrives in Paris in the mid-1800s and he just takes the city by storm. Like, he becomes the richest person. Everyone is obsessed with him. He goes to the theater, all eyes are on him. He is just like the talk of the town. He is the drama. And he starts to ingratiate himself with all of the richest families in Paris, who are all also families containing members of the people who have wronged him, who betrayed him. And he starts to get in really good with them. He's like a little spider spinning his web, and it is so fun to watch. The only person who kind of maybe has suspicions about who the Count really is Mercedes. I did want to say, and I did want to just put like a general poll out. I just feel like, I think I was complaining a little bit ago that I'm like, as soon as Dantes got out of prison, I'm like, why didn't he go immediately to his fiance? Which, like, fair enough, he had things to do, he had people to see, he had places to be. I just really don't think that, like, it's her fault too much, any of the stuff that happened, or that she, like, gave up on him, because, like, so many years passed, he didn't come back. She probably assumed that he was dead. I just don't really think it's fair of him to be like, oh my god, you didn't wait for me. You married this guy who is like my rival. When like that's not really the case, because she never really stopped loving him. She didn't want to marry Fernand. She just did because like she kind of had to at that point. Like, she had nothing else. She waited for so long. She took care of Edmund's father as he was dying, and she stuck around, I think, for as long as anyone would like kind of request that she stick around for. Their meeting and like the lead up to their meeting again for the first time after so many years. Pain, absolute pain. We do have quite a huge cast of characters now whose family trees all kind of sometimes intertwine and are sometimes a bit confusing, so I've seen some of you write down like your own little family trees, which is really nice, because there are a lot of people and all of these families are starting to connect, and Monte Cristo is like right in the middle of it all, just kind of pulling all the strings, and it's so good. No, thank you. Stop. I am this close. Wait, let me measure it. This close to finishing The Count of Monte Cristo. I don't want to. The way that I've stopped reading this book over the last few days is kind of ridiculous, because I'm just like, I don't want this to end. I simply don't. I'm so sad. I'm so upset. So much has happened, and I'm like, my jaw's been on the floor. Some things, of course, are very predictable in terms of the revenge that is taking place in this book, but it's just been so satisfying to see it through. I'm on page 1196, so I literally have about 50 pages left, and I'm gonna finish it today. I'm gonna finish it today with you. That is my mission. But I do have some updates. Okay, so first of all, I just want to talk about the film, because I actually watched the film, The Count of Monte Cristo, from 2002, I believe. Okay, Grendel, do we have to play with the loudest toy right when we start filming? I got into the film from 2002, and this is my story. Okay, so in my grade 10 French class, we started watching The Count of Monte Cristo en français, and we got through, I think, like, I don't know, a quarter of the film, or maybe we got like an hour into the film or something, I don't remember. But then it got turned off because we just didn't have enough time to continue it, and she was like, you know what, go finish it at home. The whole class was hooked. I don't think anyone went and finished it at home, and so I've waited years to watch that movie to completion. What I will say right away is that if you are still reading Monte Cristo, or if you want to read The Count of Monte Cristo and you're worried that the film will spoil the book, it doesn't. Like, it straight up doesn't. The movie is, I think, literally a little over 2 hours, so it in no way encapsulates what is going on in here at all. The film basically just focuses on the Count and Fernand. That's it. And they kind of get rid of almost everyone else, and they certainly don't go into hardly any of the events that happens in the book. I mean, how could they in 2 hours? So Fernand really becomes the focus. But it's a great cast. It has a very, very young baby, Henry Cavill, in it, who plays Albert, which is so funny. It was really interesting because the whole time that I've been reading The Count of Monte Cristo, I had been imagining Villefort, the crown prosecutor, as a very old man. I had been imagining Dantes as a very young person, like around the same age as the Count. I don't know why, that's just what I had in my head. But then watching the film, that is completely reversed. Villefort is this like very young cutie and Dantes is very, very old. So yeah, that is the truth. So now I can like reimagine that correctly in my mind. The film was okay. The film adds about 20 billion sword fights, where I don't think there's really even been one full sword fight in the book, so whatever. And the historical things having to do with like Napoleon and the whole thing that lands Edmund in prison in the first place, like that's all completely messed up. I like the film for what it was. I wish we had like a television series with like 30 seasons that goes into every single thing in this book. The film just goes so off the rails with the way that the book is structured. So I got like halfway through the film and I was like, should I finish this? Because I haven't finished the book yet. And then I was like, you know what? No, like this isn't gonna spoil it because it's so off the material at this point that it doesn't matter, and it doesn't. So that is your answer. I like the film. It's a little silly. It's really funny. Things are getting so upsetting. So the revenge is being carried out. What I will say actually in the book is that I feel like I've been missing a lot of just like having Edmund back on the page, because so much of it when you get to Paris, especially in the later half of the Paris section, is all centered around all of the upper class rich people, and we get so much detail into their lives, and the Count in some parts does fade into the background. I wish we had more of what was going on in his mind as everything's going down. And now the last section of the book, what I will say is that it is more focused on the Count. So we are getting that now, but I've just missed him. One of my favorite storylines though that I do want to say is that I've loved Eugenie and her friend, who's definitely not a platonic friend, but that's fine. I think Dumas, I was so surprised to see the storyline in Dumas in this time period, but I was like, wow, yes. Eugenie is the daughter of Dantes. Yeah, the banker, and it's just been so fun. It's just been so fun. Her lines have been so incredible. She's such a cool character, and I've really been eating that one up. So, well, my dear father, in the shipwreck of life, for life is an eternal shipwreck of our hopes, I throw all my useless baggage in the sea. That's all, and remain with my will, prepared to live entirely alone and consequently entirely free. Since my childhood, I have seen too many things going on around me and understood them too well for misfortune to make any more impression on me than it ought. Ever since I can remember, no one has loved me. Too bad. And this has naturally led me to love nobody. So much the better. She's cool. She reminds me of Estella from Great Expectations. Okay, I'm gonna stop blabbing because I'm just frankly procrastinating the end of this book. So, okay, I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish it right now. The only thing I want to say about the revenge plots that I feel like I can say this without kind of spoiling anything. The one that he cooked up for Villefort, oh my god, that was kind of a lot. To me, that was definitely the worst one, the harshest one, the worst one out there for sure. And it's really interesting to consider who among the technically four men deserve the most punishment, which one of them is deserving of the most heinous retaliation, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. Let's finish this. Okay. I finished it. What am I? That was a good one. That was a really good one. Okay, first of all, just 5 stars, obviously, but we already knew this 5-star book, but I'm so sad that this is over. Like, I can't tell you. I don't know how I feel about that ending in terms of where the count ends up, in terms of where he is on the last page, who he's with on the last page. I don't know. Oh, I'm so happy I had the chance to read this. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to this book. I feel like everything is wrapped up in a way that I feel satisfied with. Well, I don't know, where the Count and Mercedes end up. I don't know if I'm completely at peace with that. I'm gonna go try not to just ruminate on this for 10 million years, but I love this so much. Congratulations if you have also finished this tome, the first true tome of Game of Tomes. I think you're going to be seeing this video before you see Carolyn and I's discussion, so the discussion will be full of spoilers and we'll go more in depth in that discussion than I have been able to in this vlog that I tried to make pretty much spoiler free. I just really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this, and I'm so happy I got to read it. And I can also just say, I feel like I've proclaimed so many times on this channel that I don't like the Penguin cloth bounds because I don't like reading out of them. This has changed that. I feel like the book has aged with me. It's become a lot softer, it's become a lot more floppy, and it's just been nice. Like, I feel like the book has very physically gone on a journey with me, and I kind of want to buy Penguin cloth bounds now. I'm gonna sign off here. This vlog has probably been so long. I want to say thank you so much for watching. I am also so happy that I had a support kitty with me to finish that one up. Grendel's been sitting on my lap this entire time, so there we go. Thank you for spending literally 2 months with me reading this book, and I cannot wait to talk about it with you more. If you read the book, I want to hear all your thoughts below, please. So thank you for joining us for Game of Tomes. You know how good it was? No, because you can't read. Maybe you can though. Who am I to say that you can't read? And I are gonna wish you a very fond farewell. So until then, wait and hope.